and Stitch podcast. I'm your host, Marsha, and this is a knitting and crafty and urban homesteading podcast. We're going to have a little bit of urban homesteading at the very end. I am known as Very Little on Instagram and Ravelry, and welcome back. I want to say thank you to everybody. It was very, very overwhelming how much positive feedback I got back after the last episode. I have never had so many private messages, so many messages on the actual YouTube feed, and my Instagram exploded with private messages, and so did Ravelry, and it was just incredibly amazing. So supportive. You guys are awesome, and I just wanted to share the love back to you. It's been a tough last week. A lot has happened for me, and I want to go into that at the very end so that people who don't want to hear about that don't need to hear about that. I mentioned I have a bit of a cold, so I have voice fry a little bit, and I didn't know what that was till I recently watched a podcast, and I didn't know that was actually a thing, but I have that, and I have a bit of a snuffy nose, so I want to apologize in advance. Monday I missed recording last week, and again I'll go into that at the very end. I wanted to make just talk about previous podcasts for a second. I was using YouTube Capture to upload my videos onto YouTube. And for the past year, I haven't understood why it's been such an issue. I would upload the videos to YouTube. It would take probably 6 to 8 hours to upload. And I would go in and check it out, and it would be all stable. Everything would be good. And then I'd say, Scylla, just check it, watch it, make sure everything's stable. Everything would be stable. And as soon as we made it public, it would go wonky. So then I would reformat it while people are watching it. So some people would see the wonky version, and some people would see the level version, depending on what time they started watching it. And I was talking to Shannon of Socksetra, and she said, you know, it's something stealing your magic. So what are you doing? And I told her I was using YouTube Capture, and she told me I could just upload straight up. And I didn't understand that, so she kind of walked me through it. Now I have it worked out. There should be no more wonkiness, no more seasickness, and I really apologize over the last year for anybody who's had to see a video like that. I've gone through and reformatted them all, so they should all be fine now. And the last 4, I think, had issues, and I'm sure, you know, potential people who would be interested in the podcast didn't stick with it because of that issue, and I don't blame them at all. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for sticking with me through that. The issue's taken care of. It's not going to be an issue into the future, and I really, really appreciate your patience, because that was just, it was really difficult, and I'm not a tech savvy person, so quite a few people have come alongside and have talked to me about different things. One thing too, somebody mentioned sound being an issue, and somebody also mentioned light flare. And I don't know how to fix the light flare, but in the formatting I'm going to change the sound so it's louder. So if it seems louder, just turn it down. It's just for the people that are having troubles hearing it. Because I want this to be the best podcast for everybody, and I feel like I'm walking down a road and meeting people along the way, and they're like, hey, have you tried this? Okay, you know, now I'm on a scooter, you know, and hey, have you tried this? And now I'm on a bike, and hey, have you tried this? And now I'm on a motorcycle. I'm just like, doot, 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 doot. So I honestly totally appreciate all of the help and the recommendations. I had an overwhelming response to the bees and the homesteading section. So that is going to be a semi-permanent to permanent section. And I'll just do that at the end of the podcast as well, and talk about what's going on in the garden and different things that we are doing. One of the things I do, and I do, I have mentioned it in a previous episode, is I make my own laundry detergent, and another thing is I make my own lip balm, and I use the beeswax to do that. So maybe in the future I'll have like little bits on like recipes and things that I do. I make my own sugar scrub because the beads and different kind of scrubs aren't good for the environment, etc. So that's kind of stuff that's gonna come down, but let's talk about some knitting now. I wanted to go through all of my works in progress. because I have quite a few, and my goal is to get them off the needles as quickly as I can, and I'm working towards that. And I just wanted to show you everything that I have. I think there might be 1 or 2 projects that aren't here, but for the most part, everything that I have on the needles is sitting around me, looking at me. So I just wanted to go through them quickly and show you what I have, what I'm going to be working on. And also in the past week I frogged some things. So right now I'm working on the sock head hat, and the yarn is Nicole C. Mendez, and it's her rainbow colorway. And this is a gift for one of my girls. I have a daughter who's turning 22 later this month. She's 21, and she has lived with us from the time she was 14 till she was 18, 19. She loves rainbows, and I'm knitting her all the rainbow things. I knit her a pair of socks during the sockathon that were rainbow, and I'm working on a hat for her right now that's rainbow, so that when she goes down for Pride, she can wear her cool hat. So that's on the needles right now, and it has been for a while, and hopefully I'll get it off the needles this week because I really want to give it to her because she's home right now. Another work in progress that I've been working on a lot is this one. It's by stolenstitches.com. The picture isn't very easy to see because it's black and white, and I used low ink because I don't want to waste ink, and it's called the Adrift, and it's just kind of like a light vest. I am knitting it in a yarn that is linen and cotton, so there's no wool in this yarn. It is a lace weight. It is Diamond Luxury Pima Cotton Calori, and it's cotton and linen, 40% linen, 60% cotton. So for people who are sensitive to wool or alpaca, this is a good alternative, and also for people in hotter, warmer climates. It's a really good option because it's going to be very light. This is a top-down design, and since the last episode, I have knit from that marker up, and I was knitting exclusively on this till yesterday. There's over 400 stitches on the needles. It's top down, so it's going to grow for probably another 20 rows, and then I'll be splitting for the sleeves. And I know last week I mentioned that top down are not my favorite. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue doing top down, just means that personally for me that's not my favorite, but it can be your favorite, and that's totally cool. And the yarn's really nice to work with. It's very soft. It's softer than you would think for cotton, and I'm really enjoying it. I really like knitting with lace weights, and lighter yarns, so that's good. And I'm knitting this on Hiya Sharps. They're fixed circulars, and they are 4 millimeters. And I'm not sure what the length is on them, but yeah, it's really good. I'm really enjoying that, and it's going to be on the needles for a little bit longer. It's a sample knit for the yarn store in town, so I need to get it off the needles as quickly as I can. I've shown you the yarn for this in a previous episode, but I want to show you the project itself. This is the first incantation of the Schmancy shawl that I was making. And it had a lot more lace involved in it, and I decided to simplify the pattern for the actual getting the pattern out there. And I'm on the edging now, so the main part of the shawl actually has quite a bit of lace, and it's got some diamond shaping in each of the panels. So that's what it was originally going to look like, and then I changed the design just at the end because I wanted to simplify it, because my designs aren't like, they always have a feature in it that is something kind of to learn something new, and this was already going to have the applied edging on it, so yeah, So I really like it. I'm going to finish the edging on this. It's really beautiful. This yarn is they called the Dino colorway, and it's by Undead Yarns, and I love it. This was the first like truly luxury yarn that I purchased, and it is gorgeous. Like the color is, it's a purple, which I really like. I really like color. I just and it's just really soft and squishy. And I ran out of yarn because this was my very first knit, and I wanted to be able to use all of the yarn in the skein. I didn't want any wasted, and so none of it was wasted. And so the edging is actually in the Barocco folio, and it's a white color, and this is 65 superfine alpaca, 35% rayon. So if you're not sensitive to alpaca, then this is also a good option. So, and it's the folio. Yeah, so that is something I'm going to be working on. This one is my Narita Express, and it hasn't gotten any more love. But the yarn is an alpaca, and it is from Knit Picks, and I found the tag, and I put it somewhere. But the colorway is actually the Ruby Slippers colorway. So, I think they had a line that was fairy tales or something line, and so a lot of them are Ruby Slippers, etc. Another version of my schmancy shawl that I'm knitting, and this is without the diamonds. This is just following the pattern, and it's by me, and it is knit in the this is Cascade Silks. I can't remember what colorway it is. It's been balled up for a while, so yeah, and it looks like I'm doing the small one, so I'm almost at the edging part. So that's the Schmancy Shawl by Marsha. And so this pattern actually has quite a few sizes, and so there's extra small, small size, medium size, and large size. So there's 4 different sizes for you to choose from. Isn't it interesting that I had to read that? It's been a busy week. My brain is totally not working the way it used to, but yeah, it's coming along. I'm really liking how it's coming out in this yarn, and I do want to get this one done because it's so bright and happy, and I need some of that right now. So that's good. I'm still working on this pair of socks, the Kramer yarn socks. I'm going to put a heel in with, so one of the sweaters I did recently had German short rows, and I'd never done a German short row before. And I was looking at this and I was like, hey, maybe I should try a German short row heel. So that's what I think I'm going to do, is put a German short row heel in here, and work it like just a regular short row, but instead of doing the wraps and turns, I'll just do the German short row back and forth. So I'm gonna see how that works out. Pretty excited to try that. And that's on high-highs. Most of my stuff is on high-highs because I'm allergic to nickel, so I have to do high-highs or the carbons, which is what this is on here. These are carbons, and these are on carbons. And I cast this sock on for Nick before Christmas, so I had to put it away for the sockathon because we weren't allowed any works in progress. We had to start from scratch at midnight on the day that we were doing it, starting January 1st. So these have not really seen any work since then, since December. So those are going to need to get off the needles too. But it's this yarn is the Patton's Croy. And during the sockathon, I actually knit a pair out of this exact same yarn. I didn't realize I'd already had it, but it's fine. You get an extra pair of socks. There is it for works in progress. So last week, I talked about the knit along that I'm co-hosting with a couple other podcasters, but co-hosting with Two Tangled Skeins. The knit along is a Canadian knit along, so you can choose a Canadian dyer, Canadian yarn, and Canadian designer. So you can choose one or all of those, and each that you choose, you can enter, put an entry in for each one of those. And I mentioned I was going to knit the maple leaf shawl, and the wonderful Melinda from the Yarn Woman podcast actually gifted me the shawl pattern. So this is just the front page. There's 3 booklets for the pattern, and I'm not gonna show you what they are, but that's the pattern that I'm going to be knitting, and I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Melinda. She knows that this time of year is usually hard, but this past week has been especially difficult one. But isn't that gorgeous? I'm so excited to do this. And this is the yarn, because I didn't have it last time to show you. This is the yarn I'm going to be doing it in, and it's the Sweet Georgia yarn, and it is in Chai Spice in the Tough Love sock, 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. There's 425 yards in each, so I'm going to be using 2 different skeins. So yeah, I think it's going to be really pretty in that. So I love the burnt orange and the browns, and like the toasty browns, and then there's like a burgundy brown in here and yellowish like mustardy color. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So that's going to be cast on July 1st on Canada Day, and for that knit along, I'm really excited about that. And hopefully my goal is to have all my other works in progress off the needle. Right now I'm a process knitter because I knit because I love it, but I'm also wanting the finished object. So I just a product knitter. So I'm trying to finish knitting all of the things that I've had waning on the needles and haven't been giving love to. And so I'm working on that. So I recently got together with Michelle of Isis Fiber Arts. She is local to me, which is super awesome. And her friend Kim, we got together. I met Michelle through Kim, and Kim gave me Michelle's business card, and then I contacted Michelle, and all 3 of us got together for coffee. The place we met at wasn't open for very long because it was Easter weekend. And we went there for about 30 minutes, and then we found a new location to go to and had coffee there. And we just had a really, really good time chatting and talking. And I really love Michelle's colors in her yarn. And when we met, I was going to pick up a skein that I had gotten from her. And this is her tag. I don't know if you can see it. Isis Fiber Arts. There we go. And so it's www.isisfiberarts.com. I really like the name because it's my grandma's name is Isis, so that's really cool because it's really special to me. It's a fingering weight yarn, and it's in the lavender color. And it's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It's 100 gram skein and 365 meters. And I was talking to Michelle about it. It has a very high twist to it, and I can't wait to get some socks knit on this. She was actually knitting a pair of socks while we were sitting there in green, and it was just like this one-off skein, and they looked really good in socks. And so, and one thing that she mentioned is she wanted the yarn to be something that could be thrown in the washing machine. So this is washing machine friendly, which is really good because I tend to throw my stuff in the washing machine on gentle with no heat and a couple color catchers. I don't always, like, I wash every other time I put it in the machine versus hand washing, depending on the socks, because some of the socks don't ever touch the washing machine anyway. But she had 2 skeins, one for Scylla and one for I, as a gift. And she knew Scylla was into worsted weight, so she chose her worsted weight based for Scylla in the Lobelia colorway. And again, 100%. This one's 100% superwash merino, and it's 100 grams, which is 200 meters, which is enough for a cowl or a hat, should she choose either of those options. And it's a really beautiful blue. It's a little bit hard to see. I have a lot of natural sun coming through here. It's been a really gloomy day, but the sun has decided to come out right now. So yeah, and they smell good. And so that is here, and Scylla's gonna work on that. She hasn't balled it up or anything because I told her I wanted to use it. And Michelle also gave me the Hollyhock colorway in the fingering weight. It's the same base, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon as my other one. So her tags are really pretty. They're really well done. The name of the tag is actually the sticker. The name of the colorway is actually the sticker that holds it together. It's got the gauge, the washing directions, everything it is. So yeah, so I really like that. So the yarn is really, really soft. I can't wait to knit with it. So I can't tell you how it knits up yet, except that I've seen a pair of socks knit in it, and they looked really nice, and I can't wait to get a pair on the needles. I tend to knit with a lot of different kinds of fibers, and I do knit with quite a few that are wool free. And usually I have something wool free on the needles. So I kind of want to do a section that has to do with wool free yarns and wool free options, whether it's for summer apparel or whether it's a sensitivity. I'm sensitive to nickel, which is in a lot of knitting needles. And so I would like to have a section that is sensitive to sensitivities. Sensitive to sensitivities, perfect. And so I have different sock yarns that are wool-free options, because I know that there are a lot of wool options for socks, and there's not a whole lot that are wool-free options. So I want to try a bunch of different wool-free options and just give you my opinion. And I feel like big stores can weather honest opinions better than like indie dyers so much. But having said that, like, I never want to be somebody who complains about something. So, like, there's always going to be an option for the use of that wool. So, this is going to slide right into my frog pond. I have we have a frog thread in the Ravelry group. It's called Frog Pond. And it's there so that you can put pictures of things that you frogged, or the remainder of the yarn from the thing that you frogged, and just kind of support each other in that. Because through this walk to getting things off the needles, I really sat down and thought about a couple of my projects, because they've been sitting there, and I've been like, I'm gonna do it. And I just don't want to. Like, I just don't want to. And if I'm not loving it, I don't want to be knitting on it. And it's nothing against the yarn or the pattern. It's just that yarn, maybe it has a better purpose, or maybe that pattern I want to knit with a different yarn. One of the things I've ripped out was the Sock It To Me socks. And I only ripped one out. This is a single ply yarn, and this is a big box yarn. This yarn, I feel like, would be amazing in like a shawl or something, or a hat, or more of a shawl, something you could do with bigger needles that's kind of lacier, that's got more holes in it. With the sock needles, I was finding this yarn was very splitty. And so, but I know that there is a project for this yarn that will love this yarn, and maybe it was just me, maybe it was the needles I was using, because I do use sharp needles, so maybe something with a little, not quite as sharp a point, maybe that would have been helpful. There's tons of different options and brainstorming things to do. I wasn't in love with knitting it. Every stitch I was making twice. And one of the socks is still, it's a tube essentially with a toe. And I gave it to one of the girls so that she can just play with it or make it into a dust rag or whatever, because it would just take too much energy to pull apart. But that was so freeing, taking these off the needles. because I wasn't enjoying them, and every time I was looking at them, I just knew that the yarn was going to split with the needles that I was using for it, and I didn't want to switch needles because then my gauge would change. And so this yarn will make something lovely at some point. It's just not for me, not right now. I'll come back to it when it's not so close, when I'm not so close to it. But I love the color of this yarn though. Like, there's so many. I love bright colors, so really, yeah, I think it'll be a nice shawl or cowl or something in its next life. But for me, it's not the sock yarn for me, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Somebody might love it, and that's awesome. I have no judgment. I feel like there's so much room for different opinions, and I think that having a different opinion than somebody else is a beautiful thing. And if somebody doesn't share my opinion, and that's great. Like, you don't have to. I don't expect anybody to agree with me. I just want to share my knitting with you. So I don't want anybody to take any offense to that or take it personally. It's just my personal experience. I don't want to be a podcaster who's not going to be honest with you. And so, yeah. So Sock It To Me, that's going to be something else. And I also took out my Pride and Prejudice. I've been working on this. I cast it on last year. And I talked about it a couple weeks ago on the Diamond Luxury Collection Baby Alpaca Lace yarn, and it's like a baby pink color. Well, they were on sale, so I got them at a good price. They're $5 each. So I really love this yarn, and I love this project. I made a mistake. I made a mistake up here, and it didn't look like that. I flipped it somehow, and I was like, well, and you guys were even there. You heard me say, I'm the only one who's going to notice it. I don't hang out with knitters, but the more time I spent with it, the more I was like, you know what? I want that pattern to be right, because I want that garment, and I want it to look like how it looks like in the pattern. So I'm going to put it away for a little while. It's a top down as well. I'm going to knit it. I want the finished object, but I have a different yarn that I'm going to be using, and I think it's a really beautiful blue in a Mad Tosh lace that I think I'm going to do it in. I'm really excited about that, but I want to get everything else off the needles before I recast that on in the new yarn, because I feel like it needs a breath of life, because I spent a lot of time. It's a lace weight cardigan, and so I spent a lot of time. I'd already knit down to about here, and so there was a lot of stitches on the needles, and it took me probably about 2 hours to rip it out using the ball winder, and so it was, well, maybe an hour, because it kept getting caught on things. And so yeah, so that's been frogged, and it's did hurt a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, it hurt a little bit, but it feels a lot better that it's done. Same with the Sock It To Me socks, just having them off the needles, having them, that's one less thing that I have to think, oh yeah, I should maybe work on that. It's just done. I don't have to worry about it. So if you want to go into the Frog Pond thread, this is what I'm thinking, because I kind of want to encourage people, if you're not loving it and you haven't knit on it in a while, like if it has been like 7, 8, 9 months, maybe it's time to consider that. That's not the choice for everything. Some things are long-term projects, some things are you knit 2 stitches and you put it down for 8 months, and that's totally fine. That's, you know, it's whatever style. But if you have been considering frogging something, and it's been in the back of your mind for a while to frog this thing, and you just need a little bit of encouragement to rip it, then here's your encouragement. Rip it. And put a picture of the before and after in our Frog Pond thread. And I actually think I'm going to do a draw out of the Frog Pond thread. I'm not sure when. There's only a few pictures in there right now, but I do want to do it has chatter and everything in there, and that's fine. It's fine. But if you want to put something in there, and what I'm thinking that the prize will be is a pattern, because you're going to have extra yarn. So maybe doing a pattern as the prize, like a pattern of your choice, maybe. That's just kind of where my head is at right now and kind of what I'm thinking of. So let me know what you think about that, because that is, that could be a really good thing. I think so, anyway. And I don't have to pay shipping on a pattern. So yay! Working on bags, and if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen some pictures of the fabrics that I'm using, and they are almost all of them are Japanese inspired fabrics. There is some fabric there that is Star Wars, but most of them are Japanese inspired, and they're going to have Japanese inspired liners as well. I am working slowly on that. I should have them done by next week. I should be able to do, I'm going to do one sale. I'm opening an Etsy shop for that. And I'm going to see how it goes. If it's something that if it doesn't do well, then I'm not going to put the time in to do it again. But they are going to be, I want to take the time it takes to do it right. So I don't want to just speed through and then have products that are not a high standard. So I am going to take the time it takes to do them right and have them out there. And I'm aiming for next week. This past week was a gong show, and there was a lot happened that I wasn't planning for. So I was hoping to have it done by this weekend, but I don't see that happening. But I will be definitely doing an episode, a podcast, and showing you the bags before they go on sale, and I'll be very clear as to what time they'll be going up and how many bags there will be and what sizes they are and everything. Like, I think I can like put the measurements in Etsy as to how big they are, because they're not all the same size. I wanted to use as much of the fabric as I could, so they are, a lot of them are, there's going to be 2 bags out of most of the fabrics. Some are one of a kinds, some are 2 bags, but one will be a larger bag and one will be a smaller bag. And that's going to be it, because those, I can't get those fabrics. And it was just kind of, I went into one of the fabric shops in town, and they had a bunch of quilting fabrics that were for sale, and they were gorgeous, and I fell in love with them. I'm not making a quilt out of them, so I thought that this would be a great option, and I should get to share it with you, so that's exciting. I have a finished object, and it is a sweater. And I knit on the sample. I knit on the sample for the shop in town consistently until last night. Last night I picked up a work in progress, or yesterday I picked up a work in progress, and I just started knitting like crazy. And it's a sweater. It's a bulky yarn. I dyed the yarn. It's 100% wool. My oldest said that these are the colors she wanted, and you will remember I showed this probably last year. And I made a cardigan for one of my other girls, and that's what this was going to be as well. But I asked Al this morning if she wanted a cardigan or if she wanted a pullover, and she said pullover. So it can be turned into a cardigan. I was going to steek it if she wanted a cardigan, so it still can be turned into a cardigan, but it needs a block. But you can see where I held the stitches here. So I started there, and I knit the rest, and I knit one whole sleeve and about half of one of the sleeves in the last day. But it is bulky yarn, so it was a quick knit. I did a swatch. I used the sleeve as a swatch and kept trying it on her as we went to see how many stitches we would need. There's no body shaping. It's just cast on, and I knit a tube. It's 1 by 1 rib. Then I knit a tube, and And last year, this is how long it needed to be. And I put it up to her, because she's grown a lot since last spring, and I needed to add an extra inch onto it for length. But the great thing with this is if her arms grow, I can actually cut off the sleeve and add length to it and then Kitchener it back together, and I've got enough yarn to do that. These fit her right now. It fits perfectly, and if she wants it to be switched into a cardigan at any point, I can do that as well. So that's done. I made a mistake in one of the sleeves. I held stitches so I could Kitchener the underarms, which I did. And this does need to be blocked, so that'll even out. But so I Kitchenered the underarm, and then I got to this one, and I had actually just knit straight through the stitches that I'd put on waste yarn to hold, and instead of just ripping it out, I just picked up some stitches on the underside, and I'm going to take some yarn and tighten that up after I block it and see how it looks, because it does need some extra tightening in there. But it looks great on her. She's it's just a camping sweater, so it's not a big deal that there's an issue under one of the armpits, and I just made do because I really wanted that off the needles. So, oh, and the top I'm wearing is Family, I think it's called Family, and it's a free color work pattern, and I've knit this pattern 5 times, and it was my first sweater pattern to knit. It's bottom up, and it has color work along the bottom and the sleeves. And I knit it in Barocco Vintage, and it pilled like crazy. And I wore it a handful of times, and it pilled so much, and it still has tons of pills. I spent about an hour combing it. I'd heard about this thing called a gleaner on the Make Things Club podcast that has Sarah with an H, and she had purchased it from Staples, so I went right away to Staples to find this thing, and she said it was about $20 Canadian. I went in, they were clearing it, it was on clearance, it was $10, and so I bought 2, and I got one for you and one for me. This is the gleaner. This is the one for you. I've already pulled mine out of the package, and it worked awesome. I have a little video and talk about it a little bit, and I'll put that in here. So I just picked up a gleaner from Staples, and I heard about it from Sarah with an H from the Make Things Club, because I have this sweater that is done in Barocco Vintage, and I've worn it a handful of times, and it has pilled incredibly to the point where I don't wear it out of the house right now because it's pilled so bad. So I thought I would do a little bit of a review of this. I went in, Sarah had mentioned that it was about $20 for the gleaner. Staples here in Canada is, I think they're not going to be selling it anymore. It was on clearance, so I got 2 for the price of 1, so it was actually less than $10 for this one. And it comes with different heads here. So this is the heavy duty, this is the medium, and this is the fine heads. Okay, and this one I'm going to think is going to be the heavy duty one. Sorry for the shaking. I'm going to try. So the piece just clips in there, and I suppose I should start at the top. The top hasn't pilled as much as the main part of it. And you just go down like this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can see those pills along there. Just going with the fiber. There we go. Sorry for making you dizzy. Just going to show how well it works. Wow, very happy. This is how much I got off there, and it looks way better where I combed it. So I'm very pleased. I'm gonna finish it off and show you what it looks like after. And you could see all of the pills all over it right now. Okay, so you'll see it after. So I'm very, very happy with how the gleaner worked on this sweater. No more pills. A couple spots I need to do a little bit more on, but some of that's just from the rolls. There's the pile of stuff that came off of this. So I'm super happy with this. The sweater looks just like new. So very pleased. So yeah, so this sweater could probably use it again already. And this is the first time I've worn it since I gleaned it. And you can see there's more pills. So I'm going to have to recomb it. But it looked brand new right after I'd done it. So I'm really happy to have that, and I definitely recommend it. This is going to be a prize. I'm not sure in what yet, but yeah, I'll do it as a giveaway, and I'm pretty excited about that. And it's got three different combs on it, heavy, medium, and fine. So it's very, very cool. And mine, like this one comes with a bag, but somebody had opened mine in the store and took the bag out, so mine doesn't actually have a bag. Sad face. We have so many people who enter into our giveaways and knit-alongs and things, and I've entered a fair few of them myself. Not ours, of course, but other people's, and I've never won. There was one that was a giveaway, and I know the designer or the dyer because I'm knitting with her yarn right now. So I was like, well, I know who that is, so I'm going to enter this one. So I think it was just like tag a couple friends and be a follower, and so that's simple because I don't know how to repost, so I just I was like, that was simple. And I won. And this is the first time ever I have won a draw or a giveaway that's been yarny goodness. So Nicole C. Mendez, it came with a pin and it came with a stitch marker, that's yarn, and these two beautiful yarns. This one is Silver Sock in the Reuben colorway, and it's wool and polyamide, and it's got stellina in there, and it's so sparkly. And Molly from Homespun House is going to be doing a stellina knit along, so I might join that. We'll see how much other stuff I can get off the needles if I can do it in time. And this one's called Highlight. It's a BFL high twist sock in 80% blue-faced Lancaster and superwash and 20% nylon. And that is, oh, there we go. That's her card. Doo, doo, doo. And both of these yarns feel awesome. They are very saturated. They are really pretty. So I like all of the shades of pink in that one. There's lots of little flecks of different shades, and this one's got pink and blue and green and red and yellow and mustard and purple and all of the colors. So I'm really excited about that. So that's going to be good. And I feel like that, I don't know if this will be socks or what it will be, but yeah, I have to think about that because I'm not sure yet. But I'm so excited about those, so thank you very much, Nicole. I love it. I'm so happy to talk about a couple of knit-alongs that we're doing right now. We have the Narita Express knit-along that will finish up at the end of April, and then we'll do a draw. We have a couple prizes for that so far, and one is Mina's new shawl, the squishy shawl Le Moelle. And we also have a gift from Knitting I Love, which is her needle holders and gauge markers. And so we have those two beautiful gifts that they've given us. They both donated for a prize, and so we are going to be giving those away. We also have a double dip thread going on in our Ravelry group, so definitely go over to our Ravelry group and join. The double dip thread is open to anyone doing any knit along anywhere on the interwebs. The only thing we ask is that you, or anywhere in Ravelry, I should say. The only thing we ask is that you follow their rules. If they don't want you to double dip, then please don't. And also it needs to be completed in the time frame that they're allowing, and then link that with your photo in the thread. I'm going to be doing a draw fairly soon, and I think I'm going to be doing a skein of yarn. I just have to go and take a look and see what I have, or a pattern. So we'll look at that as well. I'm going to be taking part in the Legacy Knits knit along that has started already April 1st, and it's the stuffy along that Sue and Chelsea are doing. And I'm going to knit a Mystery Bakery Bear. I've had a request for that, so I'm going to be doing that. In the last week or two, I've been mentioned, not just me, but the podcast has been mentioned in quite a few podcasts, and I just wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to all of the podcasts. And if I don't mention you, it's not on purpose, and I apologize, and I will do better next time. But Melinda from the Yarnder Woman podcast was talking about my shawl because she completed the Narita Express. Two Tangled Skeins mentioned us, so thank you, ladies. It Should Go Abroad mentioned us. The Spicy Homemaker, Little Yellow Uke, the Charlotte and Gus podcast, and the Knitting Expat podcast. If I've forgotten anybody, I really apologize. There's one other podcast that's a new to me podcast, and I've been watching a bunch of new to me podcasts, and I don't like to do a list and like a broad thank you. I want to take the time and, you know, do a little bit more in depth. And this person who has the Knitterture podcast, she did the 10 reasons to watch the Twitch and Stitch podcast in her most recent episode, and it was hilarious. And she's like, she talked about this like sister look I give Scylla sometimes. And if you guys knew how much stuff I had to edit out, Scylla has, well, she's high anxiety to start off with, but within that, she has inappropriate affect. So she'll say stuff that's just like totally like, it can't be put in. And so sometimes she'll start saying something and I'll just be like, where is she going with this? Because I don't know if I'm going to have to edit that out, or I guess you have to be here to understand that. But she's hilarious, but when she gets uncomfortable, this inappropriate affect comes out, and so she makes really inappropriate jokes or comments, and I think we all do, but it's not anything that can actually go out in a public podcast. So poor Scylla, but I love her. So yeah, so she mentioned this little look that I give Scylla sometimes, which is, I totally know what that is because I'm just like waiting for it. Sorry. So yeah, so thank you everybody who has recently mentioned our podcast. Our subscribers have gone up quite a bit, and we got so many thumbs up, more thumbs up than we've ever had before. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. In Urban Homesteading, we are cleaning the gardens like crazy right now. It is April. It is not planting season yet. It's planting and keeping the plants, taking them out during the day so they can get sunshine, and bringing them in at night so they don't freeze. We don't tend to actually plant in the garden until May long weekend. We have strawberries already growing out in the garden that were planted last year. They just come back on their own naturally. We have Swiss chard and kale that has been planted inside that will be transplanted. Tomatoes, peppers. We plant corn. The chickens love the corn, so we plant that and they just go wild over it. So yeah, so that's what we're doing right now. We've been doing a major clean, and because we haven't done a lot of the yards, well, it's been both, but I got a call on Wednesday night, and I was planning to record on Thursday, and this is sliding into now what my week's been like. And so if you're not interested in that, then you can just say goodbye now, and we'll see you next time. And if you're interested, if you're a sensitive person, then you might want to just switch off anyway. But I got a call on Wednesday night from my daughter Helen, who is 21, and she was having a difficult situation, and she said, can I come pick her up? And I said, I want you to sleep on it, and call me in the morning, let me know how it's going and if anything's changed. And so she called me in the morning and said, can you pick me up? And I said, can it wait over the weekend? Because this weekend we were moving my dad into assisted living, and I was going to record on Thursday, and she said, no, it's not a good situation. So I drove to Vancouver, went and picked Helen up, and we had to pack all of her stuff into my truck and then drive all the way back. And so it's a 5-hour trip there. I was stuck in the beginning of rush hour on the way in and the end of rush hour on the way out, because we were there for about 2.5 hours packing. And so drove her home on Thursday. So there was absolutely no time to podcast at all. And I talked to my dad on Wednesday night, and I gave him a pile of Post-it notes. My dad's he lived in our home, and Scylla moved here to help be a primary caregiver for him. He is brain injured, and he's also has some other issues, and so it makes it really difficult. And it just got to the point where we couldn't give him the care that he actually needs to live at a good standard of living. He was giving up, really, is what was happening. And so we found the best place in town for assisted living, and we helped him move in this past weekend. And so Wednesday night, Thursday night he was at bargaining stage, but Wednesday night I handed him a bunch of Post-it notes. I said, hey Dad, and he has mobility issues, so packing for him wasn't really an option. So I just said, take your Post-it notes, put it on everything you want to keep. Just put a Post-it note, we'll pack it up, we'll do all that. So Wednesday night he went around and he Post-it noted a few things. Thursday night he got a lot more marked and stuff. And so Friday we got him in there, and we brought a good portion of his things, and we went through a bunch of his stuff. And my dad has an affection for things, and it's not a judgment on him, and it's not a judgment on anybody, but my dad is actually like what is considered a hoarder. And so going through stuff was not an easy task. It's to deal with this, and this is kind of where my whittling down my stash is coming from, is because, and now he's asking for more things because his space there is bigger than it was here, and it's less packed and it's a lot more organized. And we went through and got rid of all of the things that weren't really necessary, and it's really hard to go through that process with somebody when they struggle with hoarding, but there's also a brain injury attached. So so now he's in actually a larger space, and he isn't feeling hemmed in, and that's a comfort thing for him. So he's asking for more things, but he doesn't have any more things to send. So we're just going through that with him right now and unpacking him and things. So that's kind of what's been happening over the last week. Been a little bit of the planting stuff going on, but I'm going to show you a video of our little homestead, urban homestead, in the next episode. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much, and I hope that if you are new, that you subscribe, and if you have been subscribed for a long time, thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day, and until next time.